The day Director Marcus Cole threw my ID badge on the floor in front of the entire office and told security to escort me out, I did not cry. I did not beg. I looked him dead in the eyes, picked up my badge slowly and said, "You just made the biggest mistake of your career." He laughed. His entire team laughed. 6 months later, he was reporting directly to me. This is my confession. My name is Daniel. For 12 years, I was the lead systems architect at Veritas Solutions, a mid-sized tech consulting firm with about 400 employees. I was not the flashiest person in the office. I did not play golf with the executives. I did not go to the holiday parties. I just worked, quietly, consistently, and I delivered results that nobody else could. I want you to understand what 12 years at one company actually means. It means you know every client by name, every system, every quirk, every workaround that nobody else documented because nobody else stayed long enough to discover it. I had watched 3 CEOs come and go. I had survived 4 rounds of layoffs. I had trained people who later became my managers. That company was not just a job to me, it was the proof that quiet, consistent work eventually gets rewarded. I believed that completely. I was wrong. In 2019, I built the client integration platform that saved Veritas over $2 million in annual operational costs. Nobody gave me a bonus. Nobody gave me a promotion. But I told myself my time would come. Marcus Cole was hired as Director of Technology in early 2022. He came from a competitor with a big salary, an even bigger ego, and 0 technical knowledge. When Marcus arrived, the mood in the office shifted overnight. He had that particular kind of confidence that comes not from competence, but from never having been held accountable. He called unnecessary meetings just to hear himself talk. He used technical jargon incorrectly in presentations, and nobody corrected him because he had already made it clear that disagreement was career suicide. I watched him take a project I had built over 8 months, repackage the slides with his name on them, and present it to the board as his vision. The board gave him a standing ovation. I sat in the back of the room and said nothing. From day one, he made it clear that he saw me as a threat. He started excluding me from key meetings, reassigning my projects, taking credit for my work in executive presentations. I kept my mouth shut and kept delivering. That was my mistake. In October 2022, Veritas landed the biggest contract in company history, a $47 million deal with a major healthcare network. Guess who was assigned to lead the technical implementation? Me. I spent 3 months designing the architecture, working nights, working weekends. The project was on track, under budget, and 2 weeks ahead of schedule. What people do not tell you about big corporate projects is how personal they become. I had the personal cell numbers of 6 people at the healthcare network. I had been on calls with their CTO at midnight troubleshooting issues. I had flown to their headquarters twice to present progress updates. They trusted me, not Veritas, me. When Marcus assigned himself as executive sponsor of my project and started attending those client calls without any context, I watched the client's confidence slowly erode in real time. They would ask technical questions and Marcus would deflect. I would answer, and then Marcus would repeat my answer as if it was his own. Every single call. Then Marcus called me into his office. He slid a document across the table. It was a performance improvement plan, signed, already approved by HR. It listed 11 alleged failures over the past 6 months, missed deadlines, poor communication, team complaints. Every single item was fabricated. I asked to see the evidence. He said it had been documented internally. I asked which team members had complained. He said that information was confidential. I asked why I was hearing about this for the first time after 3 months on a $47 million project. He smiled and said, "Daniel, sometimes these things take time to process." 2 weeks later, I was terminated. Official reason: performance issues. He had spent months building a paper trail to make it look legitimate. And it worked. I walked out of that building carrying a cardboard box. Marcus stood at his office window watching me go with a smile on his face. The hardest part was not losing the job. I want to be honest about that. The hardest part was the silence. People I had worked with for a decade stopped returning my messages within 48 hours of my termination. Not because they were bad people, because Marcus had made an example of me, and in a company with 400 people and limited job security, Nobody wanted to be associated with the example. One person, a developer named Chris, who I had mentored for 3 years, walked past me in the parking lot on my last day and pretended not to see me. That hurt more than anything Marcus ever did. The next 3 months were the hardest of my life. I filed for unemployment. I applied to over 60 positions. I had 12 years of elite experience, and I could not get a call back because Marcus was providing negative references to every company that called. He was telling people I had been let go due to ethical violations, a word that destroys careers. I lost my apartment. I moved into my brother's spare room. I watched my savings disappear. And every morning I woke up and thought about Marcus standing at that window smiling. That anger, that is what saved me. I need to tell you about the moment I decided to stop being a victim. It was a Tuesday night, 2 months after the termination. I was sitting on my brother's couch eating cereal for dinner because I had skipped lunch to save money, watching a news segment about a corporate executive who had been caught fabricating employee records to push out long-term staff and replace them with cheaper hires. And I thought that is exactly what happened to me. And then I thought I have every email. I saved every document. I kept every version of every project file on a personal hard drive because I am the kind of person who does that. I had not lost. I had simply not started fighting yet. In January 2023, I stopped applying for jobs. Instead, I made 3 decisions that changed everything. First, I contacted an employment lawyer. Within 2 weeks, she had documented enough evidence of defamation to pursue a civil case against Marcus personally. He had been making those calls from his personal cell phone. Rookie mistake. Second, I reached out to the healthcare network client directly. I still had the original project documentation, every design decision, every technical specification, every email thread. I presented myself as a consultant and offered to review the current implementation because Veritas, without me, had fallen 6 weeks behind schedule. The client was furious. They had not been told about the delays. Third, and this is the part Marcus never saw coming, 2 of my former engineers had quietly left Veritas after I was fired. They told me they had also been documenting Marcus's behavior for months. Fabricated reports, stolen credit, hostile work environment. We had him from 4 different angles. The moment that shifted everything was when I sat down with the 2 engineers, James and Priya, in a coffee shop 2 blocks from the Veritas office. They were nervous. They had both signed non-disclosure agreements, but they had also been documenting everything on personal devices for months because they had suspected what Marcus was doing long before it happened to me. James showed me a folder on his phone, screenshots of internal messages where Marcus explicitly told HR to build a false paper trail, not implied, explicit, written instructions to manufacture documentation. That was not a performance issue. That was fraud. In March 2023, the healthcare client terminated their contract with Veritas over the project delays. $47 million gone. The board launched an internal investigation. My lawyer submitted our defamation documentation. 3 of Marcus's former direct reports gave statements. Marcus was terminated in April. No severance, pending personal litigation. But here is where the story takes a turn I genuinely did not expect. The CEO of Veritas called me personally. He had reviewed the full project documentation I submitted to the healthcare client. He wanted to know if I would be willing to return, not in my old role, but as Director of Technology, Marcus's former role. Here is what I want you to understand about the moment Marcus was terminated. I was not there. I did not see it. I only heard about it later from someone who was. But apparently, when HR walked into his office and handed him the termination letter, Marcus laughed. He genuinely thought it was a mistake. He asked for the CEO by name. He said, "Do you know who I am?" And the HR manager, a woman named Sandra, who had been at the company for 19 years and who had been the one forced to sign my false performance plan under pressure, said very quietly, "Yes, we know exactly who you are. That is why you are leaving." I took 3 days to think about it. Then I called back and said yes, but with conditions. Full restoration of my employment record, a formal letter of apology from the board, and a compensation package that included back pay for the period I was wrongfully terminated. He agreed to all of it. On my first day back, I walked past Marcus's old office, now mine. On my first morning as a director of technology, I arrived early. I sat in what used to be Marcus's chair, behind Marcus's desk, and I looked out at the same view he used to have. The same city, the same office, the same window he stood at when he watched me leave with a cardboard box. And I felt nothing dramatic, no triumphant music, no flood of emotion. Just a very quiet, very clear sense that the world had corrected itself, that patience, documentation, and refusing to become someone who fights dirty had been enough. It is almost always enough. People like Marcus always give you everything you need. You just have to be paying attention. If you are going through something similar right now, if someone is trying to erase what you built, discredit who you are, I want you to hear this. Document everything. Stay quiet and let them underestimate you. Because the people who laugh when you fall are always the ones most shocked when you rise. I am Dark Confessions, and that was my truth. If this story hit you, subscribe. Because every week, someone's truth will leave you speechless.